You are now tuning in to the Going North podcast with your host, best-selling author and professional speaker and member of the John Maxwell team, Dominic Dom Brightman. And every Monday and Thursday, we're going to hear the voice of a different author sharing their gifts, stories, and expertise to help you charge forward in life. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Going North podcast, where we bring you some super special humans from across the globe. Today is no different, baby. Today is no different because we got one heck of a guest for you today, baby. We've had some veterans before, we've had some authors before, and we've had some folks who have created businesses and coached folks to reach their peak potential. Well, today is no different because we got somebody who's done all that. Because this wonderful author right here is the lead trainer and lead coach of the Prosperity Revolution, Man Wealth, as well as Shield Maiden programs. And not only that, he actually has started his career in the United States Army as a platoon leader in the Operation Iraqi Freedom. So we have a living legend in the podcast house today. And this guy right here, during that mission, he was actually charged with the safety and leadership of 40 soldiers as they served the U.S. of A. in Kuwait. And it doesn't stop there, folks, because in addition to that, he does speaking, live events, and coaching. He's also the author of 2 best-selling books, as well as an entrepreneur who's built successful multiple businesses in the areas of insurance and real estate. So let's give it up for Mr. NB himself, Mr. Nate Bailey. How are you today, sir?
Hey, I'm good, my man. Even better after that intro. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's great having you on, man. Great having you on, and got to commend you for all that you've done, man. And not only that, you also have a TEDx talk. I forgot to mention that in the introduction.
Yeah, I do. Did that a few years ago, man. It's probably 3 years ago now. Yeah.
Oh, man. Folks never lie when they say time flies.
Yeah, right. That's true. That is true.
That's right. Flies way faster than any butterfly, any Learjet, any Concorde jet, anything that gets in the air and flies and has wings. It flies so fast. Well, as with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 35 days long, so mine filling in some things I may have missed and tell us who is the one and only Nate Bailey.
Yeah, you bet. I played college football and I met my wife. We've been married, better get this right, 18 years, going on 19. And we have three beautiful little kids, 11, 9, and 7. And we talk about time flying, man. That sure is the truth when it comes to your children. But after finishing my last year of college football, I decided, I was kind of looking for that next challenge. I'd always played sports and always been active and always had something to work and train for. And after football was finished, it was kind of that void. So that's really brought me into the Army. And then from there, I found out that there was an opportunity to be a leader, be an officer. So I've always been gravitated toward leadership positions, coaching positions. In the insurance industry, I was a leader in our National Association of Insurance Financial Advisors group, industry associations. I've coached high school sports, coached a little bit at the college level. So once again, I was a teacher, had a teaching degree. So as I look back of everything that I've done, I owned a CrossFit gym, insurance agency, multiple investment properties across the country. So I've always been driven to be an entrepreneur and also a leader. And so that's really all of that, looking back, has really prepared me to do what I do today, which is as a coach, as a speaker. I have my own podcast. I have books. Everything that I do when I wake up is to help impact men and women, entrepreneurial men and women across the world, to be better, to live a greater life for themselves than they currently are today. And so I'm really blessed. But again, just looking back, you never really know why you're doing what you're doing at certain points in your life, and then you kind of look back and the pieces start to fit together. And as I look back, I know that like everything that I did definitely had a purpose to prepare me for what I do today, which is, again, I wake up, everything, the message I communicate, no matter what the platform is, even as a guest on your great show here, is to help, see if I can help just one person, that they might hear something or see something that would radically change their life, and that's what I love. And so, yeah, that's what's brought me here to where I'm at today. Like I said, I'm in San Antonio today. I'm getting ready to run a 100K, which is 62 miles. You heard that correctly. 100 kilometers, which, for us in the States is 62 miles. So excited for that.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's right. A man of many talents and aspirations and goals and a lot of grit. A lot of grit. Telling you, more grits than the South. That's how much grit my man got
That's
right
right.
there. That's right. 62 miles. 62 miles. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, yeah, folks talking about these 5Ks, like 5Ks. I eat I ate that for a snack. Forget
That's
breakfast.
right. 25Ks. But that's right. I mean, I started at a 5K. Like I remember not that long ago when 5K was really it was a challenge for me, and so we all start from where we're at. I started there, and it's a beautiful thing. Like you continue to grow and get a little bit better, and before you know it, if you ever wanted to run 100K, you could. I don't know why you would want to. I'm still not sure why I do, but but if you do, you can. Right? It's possible.
Oh yeah, it's possible indeed. Kind of heck, even before the show, it's like you're the second person I know of that's actually done 100K and still does 100K. It's like wow. It's like it's got to be some kind of level of possession to be able to do that or something, man. Like what inspires you to do 100K and actually live through that and tell the tale about it?
Well, I mean, to me, it's that challenge, especially for what I do as a coach, leading and impacting other men and women that come into our program that pay us their hard-earned dollars to help them to get where they want to go in life. I feel it to be number one, a big responsibility to live to the highest level, to be the highest standard of what we teach and preach. Like I don't want to be telling people to do one thing and then I'm out here doing something else, right? So that's a piece of it. The other piece is really just like I thrive I, when I have something big physically to train for. When I have something big in front of me that I'm preparing for, that gets me a little nervous, gets me a little anxious. It requires me to really be dedicated, disciplined. I don't want to do it at the sacrifice of anything else. I know you talked about the lady that you knew that was thinking about getting ready for a 200 miler, and then she didn't because she's starting to have some kids or family reasons, right? So I have those same things. I just still find a way to do what's required to run 200 miles or 100 miles without sacrificing time with my family. And so it just, what I'm saying is it forces me to level up and really be dedicated and disciplined in all areas. And so that's what I love, like really, the physical goals and outcomes that I have for myself force me to raise the level in all areas of my life.
Amen to that. I love what you said there, to force yourself to level up. And that's really something that a lot of folks need to do nowadays because a lot of folks, they may try to force themselves to level up through social media, but it's like, what about in your own real life, your own personal life?
Yeah, well, sometimes those two don't line up for a lot of people, right? But they're putting out on social media and what's actually the reality. Uh, and yeah, so it's important that they do line up, right? It is to me anyway. I mean, to stay in integrity.
That's right, baby. That's right. That's right. Got to be ethical. Got to have integrity. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. My man keeps it up, indeed. So the beautiful thing is that not only is that you're a man of integrity and that you're coaching folks having your own success, what's probably been one of your probably one of your most precious setbacks that actually sets you up for a comeback.
Yeah, we can stay right in the ultra running lane, right? When I 2018 in March, about 2 years ago, I decided to see if I could run 100 miles. And so it was in March I decided to do that. Signed up for a race called the Kettle Moraine 100, which is in Wisconsin. I live in Minnesota, grew up in Wisconsin. But so I gave myself 3 months to prepare for this thing, and I actually made it 100K in this race. So I made it just over 62 miles. And there's a cutoff time. So if you miss the cutoff time, they kick you off the course, you're done. And so I just missed the cutoff time, unfortunately. I failed. I didn't run 100 miles. It was still 62 miles, which is way more than I'd ever ran in my life before, like by far. So there was a lot that I could appreciate and celebrate in that, but it wasn't what I said I was going to do. And it's so important for me to, especially now in my life, there was definitely a time where I would say I was going to do something, I wouldn't do it, right? I wouldn't follow through. I'd go 75% of the way and quit. And I think that's an issue for a lot of people. And so I was like, I'm going to do this thing again. I found another 100-mile race in actually Cleveland, Ohio, of all places. And I made it like 75.6 miles, and my body just kind of gave out on me, right? Like I couldn't go any further. It was a difficult, challenging course, and I made it almost 76 miles, and I didn't finish. So I signed up for another one. Like I would have, if it would have taken me 300 attempts, that's what I was going to do, because I was going to run 100 miles. But luckily, I didn't have to run it 300 times. I only had to run it 3. I wish I only would have had to attempt it once, but I continued to persevere, continued to push through. I learned along the way, right? Failures are so amazing. They're awesome because they help you to win, help you to succeed. They help you to figure out the right path, and none of us are immune to it. And so if you can shift your perspective on those failures to see them as really um, significant wins that help you to get to where you want to go, um, it's an incredible thing. And so, yeah, on the third attempt that in October of that year at the Pony Express 100, I was successful, and I finished. So that was a moment where if it had been a different time in my life, I would have finished the 100K, got cut off, got thrown off the course. I would have patted myself on the back. There were a lot of other people that were patting myself on the back and saying, "Hey, oh, that's incredible. That's great. Like, you should be so proud. Like, that's awesome. That's way more than anyone else." Like, really giving me excuses not to follow through and do the 100 miles, right? And but I didn't. I was like, no, I'm gonna finish this thing. I'm gonna do what I said I would. So it was a critical moment for me in my life. And again, I rather would have hit it on the first time, because I ran a lot of extra hundreds of miles in the attempt to complete 100 in under 30 hours at one time.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I got to commend you for that because you're definitely right. And that's really a real life true example of competing against yourself, because you said yourself, it's like, hey, you could have patted yourself on the back like a lot of other people. It's like, man, I've ran more miles than anyone else it really has, at
Yeah,
least the majority of the people. But you're like,
yeah,
this ain't it. This is
yeah,
not 100 miles. I got to do this thing.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's the biggest, for a lot of people, right? It's whether it's 100 miles or whether it's just getting up in the morning to go to the gym, right? Because a lot of people will do that. They say, "Oh, all right, I'm going to start. I'm going to get to the gym. I'm going to get up early." They even set the alarm, and then it goes off, and they talk themselves out of it, and they stay in bed, and they continue that cycle forever, right? So the biggest place you got to be your word. And I actually had a podcast, 100 episodes on this topic, called the Integrity Bank, of just like the biggest person that you need to be your word to first and foremost is yourself. Because, you know, it's easy to not get up and go to the gym because no one else knows that you told yourself you were going to do that. But that's just seeps into everything that you do. Those little promises that you break, they really turn into significant decisions and impact you significantly because it carries over into everything that you do in your life. You know, say if you don't do something that you said you were going to in one area, it seeps into the others. It's just, you know, it can't help but not. And so who are you going to be? You're going to be a person of your word or not?
Amen to that indeed. Amen to that indeed. Definitely got to be a person of your word. And it's so true. You mentioned another valid point right there. It's like the power of making sure that you hold yourself accountable and heck, maybe even enlisting the help of accountability buddies. Because if you make a promise to yourself and you're like, oh, shoot, nah, I think I'll stay in bed today. Forget the gym. I'll be all right. But that'll just compound over time and you'll just feel real bad and stupid about yourself because even though no one else knows about it, you'll still know about it because you
Yep.
made that promise to yourself and it'll be one of those regrets down the road.
Yep. And you beat yourself up over it, which doesn't serve you at all either. Right. So yeah, I mean, accountability is great. If you can find somebody that's going to meet you at the gym. Now it's like, well, I gotta go, unless you're just a jerk and you really don't like your friend. Like you're like, I gotta go to the gym. My buddy's going to be there. Yeah. So I mean, that's incredible. You know, if you need that, set that in place, and then, you know, over time, you won't, you know, that habit, that pattern, that routine will be in place, and to the point where you won't really need that.
That's right. Just got to make sure they're not a jerk either. They can't be eating donuts the
Yeah,
whole
that's
time
right.
while.
Yeah, make sure it's somebody that actually wants to work out, right?
Yes, indeed. And then just bringing in a negative vibe. Although I'm pretty sure they would get kicked out after a while if they did that.
Yeah, handing them out.
Oh man, oh man. Well, and speaking of buddies, you're able to start an awesome podcast called the Championship Leadership Podcast, which I must say has probably one of my top two favorite podcast intros of all time.
I love it.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
my man
Indeed.
Joey Yak. He actually was a rapper for a good time. He toured with Crazy Bone for a while. But
Oh
yeah, that's
wow.
what he does. So check it out. And if you have a podcast and you want a sick intro like that, he's the man. Like he's the real deal. And yeah, I love how it turned out.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yes, indeed. And that's one heck of a thing that a lot of folks are starting nowadays. So, what is your why for starting your podcast?
Yeah, I mean, it's so awesome. Championship leadership. I get to talk to amazing people from all walks of life around the country, and you know, I love talking about leadership, but I love hearing each individual guest story and where they've come from. It's an opportunity to get to talk to some people that I wouldn't, you know, like yourself, that I never would otherwise. And so it's just been incredible. I think I got like 80 or 90 episodes recorded now, not all of them quite released yet, but it's just a way, you know, especially as a coach, but even if you're not a coach and you sell donuts, right? Like you got a donut shop, like have a podcast on making donuts and like become that celebrity expert authority in your niche, in your industry. And a podcast is a great platform for that. So that's really one of the main reasons was to, and it helps you, you know, when you're on a podcast, you're communicating, you're talking, and you can't help but get better. The more conversations you have, the more times you put yourself in situations like this on your show to tell your story, to get really good at telling your story. I mean, there's just so many different benefits to it. You know, it's not really about the downloads or the plays or the listens, but all that stuff comes, you know, over time if you're committed to it anyways. So it's for me, it's just awesome. It's fun. I just enjoy it.
Heck yeah, man. You got some superstars on there too, man.
Yeah, you know, I've had some really awesome guests come on. You know, what all of them are awesome, but you know, yeah, some have names that are a little bit more recognizable than others. But and so that's, I'd just say to that, like just don't be afraid to ask. You'd be amazed who will come on your show when you just actually reach out and ask them to come on. It's pretty cool to see. And I just started making bigger requests recently, and lo and behold, they'll actually are willing to come on. So it's pretty fun that way too.
That's right. Some fun on the bun, man. So, out of all your interviews thus far, is there any three that stick out to you for you personally?
Yeah, I mean, some people are really fun and easy to talk to, and some it's like pulling teeth to get to answer questions. And, you hope that they kind of go a little deeper, and they just kind of really hit the surface, and then they just stop and stare at you like, all right. So then you just kind of learn to cut those off. But I was out in Utah doing some videos, and there's this guy called the Iron Cowboy. I haven't released it yet, but he did 50 Ironmans in 50 days in 50 states.
Oh, wow.
He's got a documentary on Netflix, and so actually, I was just like, "Hey, can we record this?" I'm going to be out in Utah. I knew he lived out there in Salt Lake. He's like, "Yeah, swing by." So I just came to his house and like we shot it. We recorded some video. We're going to be releasing that soon. I've had the honor of having multiple U.S. Navy SEALs and Special Forces, Special Operators guys. And with my military background, it's always an honor to have those guys. And I mean, they're just the elite of the elite in what they do. And I just love talking to people that are great in their area. And so it's always an honor to talk to those guys. There's this other one I think we're releasing today. Actually, her name is Case Morris, and it was just like a really fun. It was just a really fun interview, and we had a great time together. And it's just cool when you feel like there's a connection, and it's the first time you met this person, and you just have this great conversation. So she's a CEO teacher. She was a teacher, and then she decided, not teachers don't get paid very well, like news breaking, right? And so she figured out a way to start like monetizing and selling digital products, and created a company that helps other teachers do the same thing. And to the point where now she's like got a booming business and she doesn't teach anymore. But just the conversation with her was just cool. So yeah, those are just some of the highlights from some of the people I've talked with.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome indeed, man. Iron Cowboy. I definitely got to check that one out.
If you got Netflix, watch the documentary. I think you probably just search Iron Cowboy, and his book the book is better. Like he really does a good job in his book, but the Netflix documentary definitely tells the story pretty well. Number one, 50 Ironman distance triathlons in 50 days would be crazy. The fact that he did it in 50 states, and like just the logistics and just the wear and tear. I mean, I can't even imagine. I'm going to run 100K, which is like a cakewalk compared to what he did. So it's so impressive to talk to people like that. Yeah, that's kind of why I do it, because like that stuff inspires me, and it just shows what we're truly capable of. Like, and most people don't even scratch the surface of what they're really capable of. And then you see someone like the Iron Cowboy that does what he did, and it's just like, man, holy cow, they got so much further to go. And so yeah, awesome story.
Heck yeah, man. And you're definitely right. It's like a lot of folks like really haven't scratched the surface yet of what they're really capable of. You're definitely right about that. There's like
Yeah, not
so
just
much.
physically, right? I mean, just all areas of life.
Heck
We
yeah,
get to a
man.
certain place, we get kind of comfortable and like, this is all right. And when you could do so much more if you really wanted to.
That's right. Don't settle for just being a tree. Be a tree with branches and leaves.
Yeah, that's right. And acorns.
That's right. And then the acorns become bigger trees as well.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yes, indeed. Heck, I feel like that's in a book somewhere. I think it's the acorn principle.
I would imagine. If it's not, you should write it.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Oh, my goodness. So you're on the way to doing 60K, 62 miles tomorrow. You did a
Yeah.
100-mile already. You conquered the real estate world in a way. Yeah. Doing this life coaching. You got this podcast that is continually heading its way to the top. Like, what is next for Nate?
Just keep doing what I'm doing. Um, yeah, just keep on keeping on. I guess, right? I'd love to speak some more, continue to speak, continue to coach, continue to impact people, continue to push myself physically. Again, like I said, I drive off that, and that just like that. I'm able to accomplish some big things in my life because of that. Just because just like the rising tide rises all ships. Well, when I raise the bar in my physical part of my life, like all the other areas of my life, right, raise with it. So yeah, just continuing to do the little things every day that I've been doing, and over time, man, you look back and it's like you can't believe the growth that you've had and the success that you have along the way when you do that.
Amen to that, indeed. Amen to that. That's what I'm doing. Keeping on, keeping on. I love it. Yes, indeed. Got to keep it going. So, with all of your dynamic focus, besides, of course, the family and as well as truly competing against yourself for real in a way that a lot of folks don't do? What's probably the main things that keep you focused?
Um, just being really clear on what I want and why that matters to me, why that's important to me. That's the biggest thing that keeps me focused is having big goals, big outcomes that I'm consistently working towards and pushing for. There's not a lot of time to take off and not be focused if you're clear on what you want. And for a long time, I wasn't clear on what I wanted. Didn't even think about it, and I was very unfocused. So yeah,
All righty, that's right. Know that why and be clear about it. That's right. Clear as water, but not clear as mud.
that's right.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So since you've been kind of on a podcast interview train, is there a question that a lot of interviewers haven't asked you yet that you wish would ask you more often?
Boy, no, I not really. I'm pretty easy, and like I don't come into these. I just come in hoping that I can share something that would help impact someone listening. Even if that's just one person. But I don't really have any kind of an agenda other than hoping that whatever my story is and how I'm living, and like I said, I think we listen to podcasts so we can get something out of it. Sometimes I'll just listen because it's entertaining, but a lot of times there's always something that I could learn from someone's story, or from I listen to Joe Rogan's a lot, and a lot of the folks that come on as guests, like I don't really have any interest in or don't even know who they are. Yet you start to listen to their life, how they live, and I'm always taking things from other people's experiences, and so I just, again, there's not a necessarily a question that I wish people would ask me. Um, I just enjoy having the conversations. Yeah,
Amen to that. My kind of people right there. My kind of people. Yes, indeed. That's right. The only agenda is no agenda.
that's right. Be present.
That's right. Unless it's one of those corporate meetings, like you better have an agenda. Like,
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. You can be there all day and get nothing done.
exactly. So, all right. This 5 hour meeting was a success. Now we will be back for another meeting to talk about what we're
That's
going to
right.
do for the meeting after that one.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Woo. Well, the magical question that every guest gets to answer, and that
Oh,
is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but this time in the current year of 2020, With all of your amassed knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Yeah, that's a good one. I, I've I've kind of been asked this one a little bit, not quite that way, but I will take myself back. I wasn't 25, but I was 30 when I came back from deployment. I was married. I didn't have kids. I'm 43 now, and if I could go back to that point, because I'd been deployed for 15 months. And when you deployed, you just, at least I did, and a lot of the folks in our platoon kind of similar, right? We had a lot of time together, and we would talk a lot about what we're gonna do when we get home, and just felt like I missed out because I guess in a way I kind of was missing out on back home, and a sense of wanting to make up for lost time. Was kind of reckless, really entitled, selfish, and I would go back and tell myself, hey, it's not all about you. I would have made sure that I integrated back into life a little bit differently, especially inside of my marriage, and not just in my marriage, but yeah, just like into my business, into back into, I guess you'd say, it's civilian life or the real world. Could have done things differently than I did, but I didn't know any better. I really didn't, and I was young, 30. I kind of look now, even looking back, like still just a baby, and so yeah, that would be the biggest thing. Hey, less about me and more about serving others and everyone else in your life that's important to you.
Amen to that. Amen to that. That's what I'm talking about. Always need those reminders every once in a while that it's bigger than all of us.
Yeah, that's what life's all about, right? I mean, I don't think you're supposed to have all the answers. There's a reason there's not a roadmap, so you can kind of figure it out along the way. Um, yeah,
Yes, indeed. That's right. True servant leadership right there. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Woohoo! Well, for those who want to keep in magical contact with you, what's the best way for folks to reach you?
yeah, you bet. Easiest way would be, go get a copy of my free audiobook at 100milemindset.com. Just put your email in. That brings you into my world. I email my list pretty regularly. It's kind of letting you know what I'm up to, telling stories about my life, and lessons I learned. So that's one of the easy ways you can get free audiobook there. You can also just check my website out, natebaileyspeaks.com, and on my website, our books, our events that we do, all that great stuff. There's a lot of info there as well.
Woohoo! Sweet. Well, there you have it, folks. Going out there, check out the show notes to all of Nate's goodness. My man's giving out his 100 Mile Mindset audio book for free, y'all. I'm 22 minutes in, and it's good stuff. It's good stuff indeed. So definitely want to check that out, get that free gift, because if this guy's willing to run 100 miles and do it again and again and again, this is one guy definitely to learn from indeed. Check out his stuff. Leave reviews as well on both his show and his book, so that way other folks can know about the good stuff that he's doing. Yes, indeed. Is that a parting words for the folks still listening, Nate?
Yeah, there's probably not anyone listening anymore, but no. No, man. Anyone that's still listening, yeah, just keep it simple. Like, again, get clear on what you want and just do the little things every day. Just start with you. All right. That's what kind of my mantra. Like, every single day, show up, make deposits into your integrity bank, build that balance up so that when you got to make those withdrawals, we all have to make withdrawals from time to time. Like, just become a person of your word. Be someone that people can count on. When you say that you're going to do something, they know that it's going to be done, and they can just take that to the bank and cash it. So that's my biggest thing for the listeners.
Thanks a bunch for your listening ears on the Going North podcast. I hope you really, really enjoyed that episode. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family, especially those who love podcasts and love listening to some inspiration and motivation.